I'm joined now by the Conservative MP for Lichfield, Michael Fabricant. Michael, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you very much for joining me. Michael, so first of all, your thoughts on the fact that Boris has, well, he's announced his resignation. He's going. He never used the word resign, by the way, but he has sort of handed his notice in, as it were.
Sorry, Nana, I didn't actually hear what you were asking me.
Yeah, no, I was just asking you about your thoughts, how you felt when you heard Boris announce that he would no longer be leading the party.
Yeah. It wasn't a technical fault with GB News. It was a technical fault in my brain because I was being texted by someone as you asked me the question. So forgive me. I'm not a woman. I can't do two things at once. No, very, very sad. There was a sort of inevitability to it, I suppose, but he was certainly hounded, if you like, out of office by colleagues, which I thought was very sad. But it then did become inevitable that he would go. I think it is sad. I think he will be seen actually as not only an eccentric in the real meaning of the word, Prime Minister, but also one who made the bold decisions and made the big calls right. Not only on getting Brexit done, and think of the ways he had to do it. I mean, you know, calling a prorogation of Parliament, which the Supreme Court then was said illegal when that failed, calling a general election, which did work, getting us out of the European Union. Then, of course, the first country in the world by about 4 or 5 months to have a public vaccine program for COVID. And then also the first country in the world to provide arms to Ukraine some 4 months in advance of the Russian invasion. So I think history will not be as condemnatory of him as some would like to think.
And it would seem that there's a lot of ego involved in this, because I'm not so sure how best this was in the British public's interest, but people like Rishi Sunak, who sort of deserted the cabinet and then has been the first to confirm that he is going for leadership. Do you think he is somebody that you would go behind and think that he's worthy of leading the party?
Well, I don't want to get into personalities, but I will not be backing Rishi Sunak. I tell you who I think I am thinking of backing, by the way, and I don't know if she's declared yet, maybe she won't declare, but someone who I have a lot of admiration for, and that's Penny Mordaunt. But we shall see.
Interesting, because, I mean, she's not as well known as some of the others, so it would be interesting. I know she's been on GB News before. Well, now, I want to ask you...
She's very feisty. I mean, this will now ruin her entire political career, but when she was seconding or proposing the Queen's speech, she mentioned... I don't know if I can say it on GB News. Yes, you can, because it was said in Parliament, so it's perfectly okay. So she actually used the word bollock, which I thought was quite brave of her. Mind you, not as good as the F word, which I was using when I was quoting in Parliament what the former Speaker said to the former Clerk of the House. But anyway, we're going down a
we'll just apologise. But Michael, we're just going to apologise for that if any of the viewers were offended by that, because that is a swear, and it's not after 9 o'clock, so you can't get away with that.
Right.
But yeah,
so apologies to Ofcom, but it is in Hackard, so there you go. My apologies to the producer. Which word are you talking about? Which one is?
Let's not go back there. So what do you think then? Because I look at it and
But there's another reason I should say. I mean, the real reason for backing Penny Mordaunt is she is very, very feisty. She was very much involved in the Leave campaign, and I'm a strong Brexiteer. I want to make sure that we do stay well and truly out of the European Union. She also is a very, very good, feisty speech maker in the House of Commons. And, you know, she'll be up against Keir Starmer come the general election if she's chosen, if indeed she even offers herself as the possible candidate. And, yeah, I think she would make a good leader. And you know what? It'll be three fingers there, 3-0 in that we will have had 3 female leaders while Labour is still yet to get there.
Well, that's true, isn't it? And now I'm of the view that in my head that a lot of the MPs put their egos and ambitions before the good of the party and, of course, the good of the country, because we are, even though we've not mentioned it for a while, in the grips of a cost of living crisis. I filled up my little Citroen C1 that usually costs about £35 to £40 to fill up, and today it cost me almost 60 quid, and I thought, we're in the middle of this, and they are jostling for position. There'll be a paralysis for a while as they determine who's going to be doing what. And, of course, there's a war in Ukraine. Is this kind of irresponsible of them to do that? And do you think their egos are going ahead of the interests of the country?
You mean to have defenestrated Boris?
Yes, first of all, to have got rid of Boris when they were only a few points behind in the polls, and all can change because we're only halfway through. Why? Why do that now? That's all I... Yeah.
It was, I think, incredibly egocentric. I truly do believe that. You know, when you actually look, the final thing was the Chris Pincher thing, that Boris couldn't remember a briefing, a very brief briefing, that he was given some 3 years ago about Chris Pincher. And, you know, let's be clear about Chris Pincher. I'm not condoning him, but he's not a paedophile. I mean, it's not, you know, when you actually look at what he did when he was drunk. I mean, the guy needs help, and I believe he's now getting psychiatric help too for a drink problem. So, you know, I think there should be compassion regarding all these issues, and there should have been a bit more compassion actually for Boris. But, you know, some people were determined to get rid of him, use Chris Pincher rather as a weapon, in my opinion, and Pincher and his victims are collateral damage.
I would say it seems quite a minor thing to get the Prime Minister on, but then that's what I thought about Partygate as well. And to be fair, in terms of, in Boris's defence, I can't remember what I said yesterday, let alone 3 years ago. So, you know, for me, that's they did, in my view, use that. So you said you probably...
one of the problems is the I think because of the Freedom of Information Act, sometimes detailed notes are not taken about what happens in discussions when there are oral briefings. Problem with that then becomes is that as you have a change of staff, you don't have an institutional memory, if you like, for what's gone on. So to blame Boris for not remembering the fine detail about whether he'd been briefed, whether he'd not been briefed, and bring down a prime minister for that, I can tell you in other parts of the world, in Europe, people just look at it and just think, you know, what the hell are the Brits and the Anglo-Saxons up to? I mean, when you look at other countries, it's remarkable. And what's more worrying is that people like Michel Barnier have now tweeted that they are really relieved that Boris has gone and that finally Britain will come to its senses in its negotiations with Europe. Not a good sign, not a good look.
And very, very briefly, because I've got to move on, how do you feel about Sir Keir Starmer and Angela Rayner being cleared by the Durham police over the lockdown fears?
I would say two things. One is today he has come over as incredibly smug, incredibly I told you so, which I don't think is a good look for him. But hey, if that's the way he wants to appear, I think he'll regret it. But the main point is I think a lot of people, a lot of GB News viewers will be thinking, rightly or wrongly, that this is a stitch-up and that this is the establishment and a QC, which is what Keir Starmer has become, wheedling his way out of Beergate. And many people will see it as hugely unfair and unjust.
Well, Michael, thank you so much for your thoughts. That's Michael Fabricant, MP, Conservative MP for Lichfield. Thank you so much, Michael.